everyone, I'm Chester44 and welcome to this Let's Play of Tyranny. Last episode, we went and spoke with the Archons themselves, finally. We delivered the edict and were told that basically told them they have to take that structure, building, tower, fortress, whatever it is. Now we can provide some assistance. We were given a quest over here to help, and we also have a quest to help with the disfavored, though we should speak with the others as well at some point. We were also given the assistance with this man, Barik. Let's speak with him, see what we can learn.
You look as if you have something on your mind. By all means.
Placing his weapon to his side, Barik salutes you. The joints of his armor groan in protest.
What can I do for you?
I'd like to know more about you. I am the line your enemies cannot cross. All other details are meaningless, but I suspect you have some thirst for details, so ask away. Did you seek the trade of war, or did it find you? Both, I suppose. I knew fighting was in my blood, and the disfavored offered me a chance to use my skills to bring peace. Otherwise I'd have wound up some brigand or an enforcer to a crooked merchant. Barik taps his scabbard, looking away in thought. You think Ash and his legion bring peace? That's cute, but it doesn't hold water from where I'm standing, big guy. I've seen them spill as much blood as any chorus gang. You've clearly been too busy sacking villages and stealing crops to notice how a proper army conducts a war. We sow order, not discord. Say nothing. Enough of this. You're making us look foolish before the Fatebinder. May I continue my story, or do you plan on interrupting again? Barik waits until Verse makes a rude, dismissive wave before continuing. The disfavored needed recruits in anticipation of the march south. They offered to care for my mother and brother as long as I stayed with the Legion, which is a better guarantee than you'll find anywhere else. I was an elite fighter as far as most were concerned, though still green by disfavored standards. Luckily for everyone, my skills improved under the Iron Marshal's rigorous training. Tell me about your name. Barik is a shortening of my northern surname, which has been passed down through the generations since Graven Ash assembled his army. I go by it because I wear it with pride. The proper form is Barikonin. Beyond its age and association with the General's Legion, the name of Barikonin has no great titles or associations. I hold no claim to a great house or legacy, save for the disfavored. They are all the kin I need. What's the story with your armor?
It is a symbol of Kairos' will, one that I am not likely to forget. I found this armor. Perhaps it would be better to say that it found me during the Edict of Storms.
I proclaimed the edict. Where were you when it struck? I had taken to battle, knowing full well that the edict was approaching and the people of Stalwart were prepared. In spite of every setback, my sense of duty compelled me to march on the stronghold in the heart of the realm. Our march was a hasty one. A cohort of disfavored soldiers vanished in the second year of the war, among them the daughter of Graven Ash. After a long silence, we learned that she was held in the fortress of Sentinel Stand. Go on. As we surrounded the citadel, I heard the opening peals of thunder, as did the scout I was busy trying to kill. Then the winds hit like an avalanche. Many of us begged Kairos for deliverance. What else were we to do? The winds knocked the legs out of our offensive out from under us. All the decorated soldiers I brought to the battle were swept up and dashed to pieces, their armor and bodies mixing with the dirt of a tornado that spun in maddening revolutions. A piece of the citadel wall broke off and nearly crushed my skull. I only remember a few scattered moments from the storm, like the flying bits of bronze and iron cutting my flesh, the severed limbs of fallen soldiers tumbling through the air. Eventually I woke up, thinking myself trapped under rubble. When I rose and felt like I was buckling under my own weight, that's when I realized I was stuck, right and truly stuck inside this heap of scrap. Looks like pretty solid protection. That would be an understatement, if only it protected me from foolish questions. Barik regards you in such a way that you can tell he's rolling his eyes. A forlorn sigh escapes his helmet. Do you handle your own repairs? I try to keep the surface oiled to slow the spreading rust, and I bend the plates from time to time, but repairs? Maintenance? No. If you have any ideas of how to better maintain this situation, I'm open to discussing them. As with all disfavored, I assume you grew up in the Northern Empire. That's right. I grew up in Battle's Rest, then trained at Fort Resolution before they marched me out to support the second cohort. I hope to spend my resting years in Freton shores, unless, of course, I die in glorious battle, which would be preferable. My mother is good with the soil, my father with rings. He spends much of his time away on one merchant's errand or another. Still, I'm lucky to say they're both alive. Alright, something else. Tell me about the disfavored. We are the Iron Legion, the warrior elite of Kairos' fighting force. I could easily lose count of the hours extolling our glories. What is it you wish to know? Have you fought in any notable battles? I served in Stalwart for the better part of a year, faced the enemy everywhere from Coral Run to Sentinel Stand. I lost count of the battles. Seems like we fought every other day. Some of our best victories took place there, fighting an enemy worthy of our iron. But we were not successful enough to please the Overlord, and the final intervention was harsh on us all. Barik takes in a deep breath, his arms folding as his posture stiffens. I had an unusual view of the Edict of Storms. Kairos' judgment left its mark on me. But considering how we fought at Stalwart with the skill and honor of legend, only Edict is remembered. A shame. Tell me about Graven Ash. Graven Ash is the general of the disfavored, veteran of centuries of battle, and an Archon without peer. I would follow him to the void and back without question. Barik swings his arm in salute. How did he come to serve Kairos? Before the uniting of the Northern Empire, Graven Ash served as a warlord in the service of one of the local kings that defied Kairos' rule. Incredible as it may seem, Ash stood against Kairos' rule. Though his army was dismantled by Kairos' overwhelming numbers, Ash's forces performed admirably. It was said that he and his troops claimed 77 lives for each of their own. Kairos took an interest in the military genius that bloodied his army. Graven Ash was summoned to a conclave of Archons, and though he was sent in chains, he left as an Archon, having been granted a position of power in Kairos' great host of war. Thus, the disfavored were born. All of us today trace our line back to those warriors that impressed Kairos with their will and tenacity. The only difference is now we fight on the winning side. Though the general seldom speaks of it, I know that Ash humbled himself in order to spare his troops to the brunt of Kairos' punishment. His loyalty to the old blood of the North is beyond question. He made the right choice to save his troops. And he would make it again to save any of us. There has never been a more devoted and attentive leader. Barik makes a proud fist and steps to a salute with a forceful clatter of pots and pans. What else do you know of his past? I follow him into battle. I am not his personal scribe, and if I did know more of him, it would not be my place to say. Barik takes a half-step back, folding his arms across his chest. As an Archon, what magic does he wield? Ash works his magic through us, his soldiers. When we do battle, Ash seems to know the events even before our runners have given word. More importantly, though, he protects us. It's a bit tricky to explain unless you've experienced it. I can think of countless times I've been struck by a spear, or hit with an axe, and even run through with an arrow, and in each of those moments the pain and injury just cease to be. None of us know how he does it, or how he can sense that we're in danger and intervene from afar, but I suppose that's why he's an Archon. What he does probably wouldn't make sense to someone like me. How do you feel about Graven Ash? How do I feel about him? Graven Ash is the bravest, warmest, most compassionate general who ever lived. He's a living icon of leadership and courage. Barik tilts his head slightly to the side, as far as the suit's limited range of motion permits. Ash is a soldier, but he doesn't kill for sport. A leader, but he doesn't issue commands to hear himself talk. He demands discipline and sober conduct of his troops, and I applaud such standards. Back to questions about the disfavored. What can you tell me of your time in the Legion? I joined the Legion 3 years before the conquest of the Tiers began. Though handy with a few weapons, my size made me the perfect addition to a phalanx. I've served with the Stone Shields ever since. Proud to say I've stood front row right corner in over a dozen battles. That has been my place ever since the Iron Marshal gave me the assignment. The Bastard City, the Gates of Judgment, Vendrian Past, Okon's Ring, a quick tour in Barrison Chains, and then Stalwart. I spent a long time in Stalwart. Lost a lot of friends there. What of the other disfavored lieutenants? They are Graven Ash's most trusted officers and warriors from the Iron God. Between Ash's arcane powers of command and his cadre of gifted leaders, there is little confusion or chaos in the ranks. Tell me of the one they call Iron Marshal. She takes it upon herself to train and harden our greener recruits. Not only that, she has a keen eye for talent and how to foster it in leadership. For leadership. She is the youngest member of the Iron Guard. Her family line served the disfavored back before Ash bowed to Kairos. Say what you will of how many seasons she's weathered, her lineage is impressive beyond measure. What of Cairn's disciple, Radix? An Earthshaker who swore service to Cairn a few years before the conquest. Since Cairn is gone, the cult now follows Radix. Unlike his Archon, at least he knows how to follow orders. To his credit, Radix seems to appreciate the honor of fighting alongside the disfavored. Cairn was always peeved to be invited in the glory. The mages seem a necessary complication. They are insubordinate and can't lug their own supplies, but I would not want to go to war without their spells of tremor and leaping stones. What of the Scoutmaster, Barik? Barik is a devoted leader, and Ash seems to hold his counsel in high regard. Both set their troops ahead of themselves, which I'm sure is why they work so well together. He's no magician, but he does share a special connection to his warband, and they are entrusted with the most important scouting assignments. They say he can see what his scouts see, hear what they hear. What of the veteran warrior Varamas? He is the finest of us, second only to Ash. Varamas is an evocatus, a soldier who lived to see the end of his term of service. It's rare for anyone to survive that long, much less willingly return. These days he lends his tactical expertise to Graven Ash, though by all rights he should be enjoying his twilight years in a seat of honor and dignity. Back to the disfavored questions. Why didn't the Legion prevent the uprising of Vendrian's Well? I think that's a question you ought to ask of the Scarlet Chorus. They too were charged with ensuring the locals remained vanquished and unarmed. Barik lurches forward as he speaks, iron plates grinding under his motion. I would say the Vendrian Guard are really the only guilty party. It was their rebellion, after all. That is a supposition unworthy of you, Fatebinder. The Tears are but children before Kairos. We don't blame them for their ignorance, but the responsibility to set them straight is ours alone. What more can you tell me of the Legion? The disfavored accept only the finest warriors. We are all volunteers and soldiers by trade, not farmers and fishmongers pressed into service. There is a century of tradition, honor, and tactical mastery in our ranks. We don't let just anyone into the Legion. Only Northmen of character and prowess are welcome. What if a capable Tearsman wished to join? We would not recruit even a champion of the Tearsmen. Each soldier in the Legion is tied by blood and fealty to those that stood with Graven Ash during the coming of Kairos. That is part of who we are, and that will never change. What about me? What if I wish to join? A charming sentiment, good Fatebinder, but no. You are sworn to another Archon. Your loyalty would be suspect. So why is the Legion called the Disfavored? It is a name born in shame, now worn in honor. After Graven Ash stood against Kairos, he was forced to give up much. His allegiance, his pride, and the name of his vaunted army. What was the Legion originally called? The name has been forgotten by all save Ash and Kairos, and it is considered bad form to bring up the topic. Since you didn't know any better, I'll say this much. Disfavored is the only name by which one needs to know us. Alright, back to my other questions. Let me get some water first. God, my throat. I have some questions about the Scarlet Chorus. Our allies do not share the disfavored sense of honor and discipline. The Chorus will trust any criminal, rapist, or halfwit with a truncheon or blade. What would you like to know about the Scarlet Chorus? What do you know of the Voices of Narat? The Archon of Secrets? All I know are rumors, hearsay, speculation, but that's as much as anyone knows of the Voices. Some accounts tell that he's actually dead, and the Overlord has trapped the minds of his foes in the same body to torture them all. As likely an explanation as any I've heard. In truth, I know little of the voices, and have reason to suspect almost anything about him could be true. You could tell me his tears turned cheese back into milk, and it would seem more sensible to believe you than not. Do you know anything of his powers? I am no scholar of sorcery, but as I understand it, the voices of Narat is a thief of minds. They say he can swipe your thoughts and make them his own. I don't know how it works. When I recruited into the disfavored, the Iron Marshal told me never to take an audience with the voices if I didn't have a witness on hand. Do you think he's disloyal? I really shouldn't comment on such matters. Barik looks ahead blankly and then clears his throat. I heard his tears can turn cheese into milk. That is very amusing, Fatebinder. We gained loyalty for that. What do you know of his associate, the Archon Siren? Siren is the Archon of Song, and one of the youngest of her rank. She can influence human emotion with her voice alone. The voices may be the conductor of the chorus, but I'd argue Siren is their best weapon. The voices put her talent to good use. He had her singing a song up and down the coast, and the tearsmen defected to the chorus in droves. Alright. What can you tell me of their troops and tactics? Tactics? These are the first I've heard of them. The chorus is more of an irregular mob than a proper army. Still, it's a well-armed mob, and they even have a few proper warriors and magicians in their pitiful excuse for ranks. What do you know of their warriors? Most chorus rats are untrained peasants handed a knife or a pitchfork. It doesn't take much to qualify you for the front lines. One only needs a beating heart, and even then the chorus could make do. Of course, not everyone in the chorus is an infirm child or sickly old crone. Some ex-soldiers and madmen join, and the fighting elite of the chorus form a clique known as the Scarlet Furies. Barik is too dismissive by far, but he's right that most recruits are novices pressed into service. Most will not survive the first few battles. Those who live will have experience to lead, and those who fall can easily be replaced. What sort of magic does the chorus use? The Blood Chanters are the mages who follow the voices of Narat. Like the chorus itself, their order is not steeped in tradition and antiquity, rather built on knowledge stolen from other guilds. Their fire magic earns them a place on the battlefield, but they also have chants that stir the mind and the heart. The motherless sods of spells that can bolster a man's courage or tap into his fears. If the chorus is a mob, how is it led and supplied? The voices of Narat gives orders to his elite commanders, who in turn send instructions out to the gang captains. But beneath that hierarchy, it is chaos. Whole gangs will break from the larger force and disperse back into their homelands. The chorus is inefficient beyond words, and yet more bodies keep coming in to replace those lost in the mess. Inefficient? Every weakling lost in the shuffle is one less burden to those in the choir still dancing to the song of battle. Our ways must be harsh, otherwise the stupid and the soft will inherit the chant. The chorus has a lot of mouths to feed, so the conscripts that can't or won't fight are made to gather food and water. Else I'm told they're fed to the pigs, becoming food and water in a sense. A fine contrast to the honor, efficiency, and decency of the disfavored. The Legion demands courage and tenacity, but provides us with good iron, and does not leave its soldiers to forage like vultures. How do you think the Scarlet Chorus convinced so many tearsmen to join? It began with Siren. She had a song that got whole villages marching to her will, and once these peasants killed their neighbors or cousins in service of the voices, it either hardened them into warriors or broke their mind for servitude. Lots of criminals and drifters joined the chorus too. It seems like the scum of the tears just need the promise of glory and sanctioned debauchery to turn on their neighbors. It's not pretty, and it shouldn't be. The chorus is a forge. All the dirt of the tears goes in, and the finest bits are refined into weapons. There are many that join the Scarlet Chorus because they wish to join the winning side. It's a shame that such patriots were not born to proper northern stock. Too weak or too slight to be disfavored. The Scarlet Chorus is their best freedom from fealty to the younger realms. Not everyone has the fortune of gaining Tunon's favor. Better that the tearsmen serve Kairos in some capacity than have them rot in mass graves. They'd be best served lugging grain for the disfavored, but you're certainly correct. Even the lowliest tiersman deserves the chance to serve, even as fodder for the front lines.
Good.
Alright.
Let's move on to another matter.
Indeed. What can you tell me of the tiers? Uphill both ways and full of dumb sods. I learned some history and training and I've been here for a few years, but I'm no expert. What is your assessment of the local forces? There was a time early in the war when I would have feared the younger realms working together. Imagine that. Once I saw the modest scope of their defensive, I knew they would be easily outclassed. They couldn't even rally their best to make a competent stand. Tell me of the Vendrian Guard. There used to be the Queen's Royal Army of Vendrian. I guess defeat inclined them to a shorter name. We crushed them back in 429. I'm proud to say I took part in the decisive battle. You know the rest. A year after we thought them conquered, thousands of Vendrian Oathbreakers murdered the garrison and declared themselves free of the Overlord's rule. Tell me about the Unbroken. The Unbroken Union of Stalwart. May they rot in their decrepitude of their fallen realm. Barik squeezes his gauntlet into a hard fist. Much as it pains me to admit it, in all the realms of the tiers, the Unbroken have been the only foe worthy to meet the disfavored in battle. The Unbroken value tradition, just as we do. Stalwart has never lost a war on their own soil, a reputation they take quite seriously. It is fortunate that Stalwart has poor relations with all its neighbors. The rest of the tiers will not come to their aid, so as bravely as they fight, their end is inevitable. What can you tell me of the Bronze Brotherhood? Mercenaries from the free cities. The chorus needed extra muscle and you can always mint new rings. Hard to believe the tiersmen turned on each other for mere loops of metal. The Bronze Brotherhood worship the Scourges. Yes, those monsters from the old walls. The mercenaries are grown adults that willingly admire a magical abomination. Read into that what you will. That said, it should surprise no one that the Bronze Brotherhood eventually wanted more than just rings and turned on their contract. Kairos now considers them an enemy, which is for the best. The Overlord needs a better class of combatants. Right, rings are coinage.
Go on, Fatebinder.
What do you know of the Younger Realms? Before we marched on the Bastard tier, I recall Graven Ash giving us a speech as we stood assembled at Fort Resolution. He told us that the Younger Realms lacked the sense to make a stand against us. I don't think I need to point out that the average tiersman is just plainly inferior to the sons and daughters of the North. For every one of ours they kill, we must drag a score and a half bleeding into the soil with us. It didn't help that they're afraid of magic and relied on their battlefield prowess to stage a defense. What do you know of the Beastmen? They drilled us on Beastmen combat before the invasion, but it did little to prepare us. The local savages are lacking in brains, hygiene, and the ability to arm themselves, yet the prime hunters of their species are formidable. Aside from being rapacious killers, the Beastmen make good haulers and laborers, once you've killed the half that won't follow orders. Alright. You seem like a more than capable fighter. Actually, let's discuss some immediate concerns. What is it you have in mind? What do you think of our circumstances? The edict left little room for confusion. A representative of the Overlord must breach Ascension Hall before Kairos' Day of Swords, and must assume death is the price of failure. We should assist the disfavored in their siege preparations, as only the Legion could take the Well's fortified citadel. I wouldn't wager a wooden ring on the Scarlet Chorus impressing anyone but the vultures. What are your thoughts on me and my deeds? Any reservations I have aside, your military record speaks for itself. You are Tunon's Fatebinder, and my opinions on the matter don't come into it one way or another. What do you think of our travel companions? I am more accustomed to traveling in the company of soldiers, so I am out of practice judging the worth of civilians and miscreants. If you had anyone particular in mind, I will give them some thought. What do you think of Verse? I try not to. She is a force of chaos, an agent of the voices of Narat. Taking her into our confidence can only lead to ruin. And yet, she is a capable fighter. For the time being, I am confident that you can trust her to serve your interests and rely on her skills on the battlefield. She may even offer some useful perspective on the war. You seem like a more than capable fighter. I trained with the spear and shield in my youth, but gave it up the day I earned disfavored iron. I can still throw with some accuracy, but it's a challenge these days. He knocks twice on his helmet. Why, were you interested in a sparring session? I heard rumor that Ash has an unbeatable sword fighting technique. You flatter the Legion's reputation, but the Archon does make sure we are competent swordsmen. Observe. Jason Pendragon gained 5 one-handed weapon skill ranks. Barik takes up a sword and offers several practice jabs, testing its weight and balance. Before you know what to expect, the gleaming iron whips through the air fast enough for a sharp breeze to disturb the air. Barik does this several more times, never showing any sign of exhaustion. We'll talk later. Okay. Ah, and we can level him up, apparently. What points will I put here? I feel like might would be a good thing to have, so let's improve his might. Yes, save. And he can get a talent here. He has striking iron. Art of the Blade increases one-handed and two-weapon-handed melee damage. Engagement attack. Attack enemies as they engage you. Ooh. An intimidating force on the battlefield. Enemies nearby Barik have their resolve reduced. Interesting. Or Clash of Iron. Issue a mocking invitation challenging enemies to attack Barik. Interesting. I feel like it might be useful to have that, if only to open it up. Oh. I think attack enemies as they engage me is a good choice. Alright. We have the quests here. The Battle of Echo Call Crossing and taking the Outer Valley. Also these 2 side missions. Oh, we have our biography, encyclopedia on things, notes that we could make, records. How is Verse the most powerful enemy defeated? Oh no, Verse defeated the most powerful enemy, and tutorials. We also have spell creation. She still can't do. We can give spells to our party. Anyway. Let's see. Barik likes a good joke, appreciates your devotion to the Legion, and was elated by your noble ways, but appalled by barbaric words and decisions. And we can get Iron Storm. Swords and javelins emerge from Barik's armor and fly into a cloud of iron above the Fatebinder. These weapons begin to rain down in a storm around the Fatebinder, damaging enemies nearby. Useful. Man, she really likes this. There's also fear, though. It'll be interesting to improve things as they go. Graven Ash has us a fair bit of favor and wrath, less there. Oh, disfavored chain affects it as well. Okay. And we have the various factions here. Vendrian Guard. Wow, I can actually gain favor with them. May want Wrath more. Unnerving Presence. Ooh, that sounds useful. Drain Strength as well. That would be Champion's Valor and Sunspear. Interesting stuff here. Alright. Let's look at, okay, so you can't remove your helmet or armor or any of that. But you can change your sword and shield. Sword is not better. We don't have any shield. We can't change anything there. So I can learn these sigils. I feel like maybe I should learn them just to have them. And this one. So that's 3 spells. Let's see how we can do this. So we have 2 cores. We don't. You do not know any cores sigils, so we're not going to be able to. Accent that increases the range of spells. Accent that provides an increase to spell strength. And we've got affect distant targets, affect single targets near the caster. And we don't have much lore skill to do any of these. Or we do, but we can't do anything. Anyway, just to look at him, he's one-handed and two-handed weapons are good. She's got plenty of skill. We need to improve. Subterfuge is slowly improving. Okay. And back to inventory. You don't have a second weapon, but I'll let you have phalanx. You can only have the one shield. But you're probably going to stick with the iron sword. Though you could use Great Spear. It's actually even better. Wait, what's guarded strikes? Allied AoE. Huh. Oh, there we go. Okay. Throwing daggers. Okay. Well, I think we're done with that. And I am going to end this episode here, because it has gone on long enough. Next episode... we have diamond formation. Next episode, we'll see what happens. He's got iron tolling and... what is this? Striking iron. Okay. Significantly increase if they're attacking Barik, and iron tolling. Ah, that's what we can do. Both hang on their shields and armor, harassing an enemy. The target is compelled to attack Barik for a short time, while the Fatebinder's mocking gestures leave the enemy confused and off guard. Foe loses all ability to parry and dodge until they recover their senses. Ooh. That's a nice one. Anyway, next episode, I think we'll go back to the other camp so that we can try and learn what we can and get some improvements. But that'll be in the next episode. So, until then, I am Chester44. That is Jason Pendragon, Verse, and Barik. This has been a Let's Play of Tyranny, and I shall see you all next time.